On February 28, 2026, an event happened that sent absolute shockwaves across the globe. It fundamentally changed the entire political landscape of the Middle East. So today, we're going to walk through exactly how this world-shaking event went down, and of course, what happened next.
This date, well, it's now etched into history, isn't it? It was a day that started with a series of massive airstrikes and ended with this enormous question mark hanging over one of the world's most powerful leaders.
And then, what started as rumors began to solidify into this stunning declaration, coming first from American and Israeli sources. It was a statement that for hours, the world just struggled to confirm.
Okay, so that journey from the initial fog of war to a confirmation that would alter the world, it was just defined by chaos and wildly conflicting information.
I mean, the contrast was just jarring. On one side, you had Iran's foreign ministry insisting their leader was perfectly safe and sound. But on the other, you had the US president and Israeli prime minister confidently telling the entire world they had growing signs he was gone. It was this global information war playing out in real time for everyone to see.
The speculation finally came to a grinding halt on March 1st. And in a truly stunning reversal, Iran's own state media made the official announcement. Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader for more than 3 decades, was dead. The government immediately declared 40 days of mourning.
So how on earth did this happen? Well, this was no snap decision. This was an operation that was months in the making, described by intelligence sources as a wildly bold daytime attack.
You know, the build-up to the strike began months, maybe even a year earlier. If you go back to June of 2025, President Trump actually vetoed an initial Israeli plan. But behind the scenes, the CIA was meticulously tracking Khamenei's movements, and they learned he'd become more and more reclusive. Then, right before the strike, Saudi Arabia reportedly urged Washington to act. And it all came to a head at 8:10 a.m. local time on February 28th.
The operation itself was defined by its precision. The intelligence, which came from the CIA, pinpointed Khamenei's exact location during a meeting with his senior advisors. Then, a joint U.S.-Israeli force dropped 30 bombs on the compound in broad daylight. The stated goals were pretty clear: dismantle Iran's missile capabilities and hopefully spark a regime change. But the human cost was just immense, extending even to members of Khamenei's own family.
So what was the impact inside Iran? Well, it was immediate, and it was deeply polarized. The nation didn't react with one voice. No, it fractured into 2 completely opposing realities.
And this divide was just stark. On one hand, you had these powerful images of devout supporters literally collapsed in grief, wailing in public squares and holy shrines. At the exact same time, videos were going viral showing jubilant celebrations in the streets of Tehran and Isfahan, with some people even toppling statues. It was a country mourning and celebrating its leader's death at the very same time. The official government response was, as you'd expect, swift and defiant. President Masoud Pezeshkian called the assassination a great crime and flat-out promised it would not go unanswered.
But from outside of Iran, the perspective was completely different. The exiled crown prince, Reza Pahlavi, who is a leading dissident, he didn't see this as a crime. No, he saw it as a historic opportunity, declaring it the end of the Islamic Republic.
Now, Iran's promise of revenge, that wasn't just talk. The assassination immediately ignited a firestorm, escalating into a full-blown regional conflict. And the scale of this conflict is just staggering when you look at the numbers. The initial U.S.-Israeli campaign involved almost 900 strikes in just the first 12 hours. Iran fired back with over 170 retaliatory missile strikes of its own. And in that first assault, at least 48 senior Iranian leaders were killed right alongside Khamenei.
The conflict wasn't just limited to the air either. The U.S. reported a devastating blow to Iran's naval power, claiming to have destroyed and sunk 9 Iranian warships. Just gone.
Iran's retaliation was widespread and deadly, reaching far beyond just military targets. While they did strike U.S. bases across 5 different Gulf countries, their missiles also slammed into civilian sites, like a hotel in Dubai and Kuwait's international airport. In Israel, a synagogue was hit, killing 9 people. And for the first time, the U.S. military confirmed its own casualties in the conflict: 3 service members killed in action.
So as the region was basically burning, the rest of the world was forced to react. And this created a deep diplomatic rift and left a massive power vacuum right at the heart of Iran.
So who's actually in charge now? Well, the Iranian constitution actually has a plan for this.
An interim council, made up of the president, the head of the judiciary, and a key jurist, takes over immediately. Their main job is to keep the country running until the Assembly of Experts, that's an 88-member body of clerics, can get together and select a permanent successor. The assassination drew new global fault lines almost instantly. The US and Israel, they praised the strike as justice. On the complete opposite side, Russia and China condemned it, calling it a cynical murder and a violation of sovereignty. The EU was a little more cautious, hoping it might lead to a different Iran, while Iran's allies like Hamas and Hezbollah, well, they just vowed revenge.
And this global reaction wasn't just diplomatic, it spilled right onto the streets. Pro-Iranian protests erupted everywhere, from Baghdad to Kashmir. In Karachi, Pakistan, an attempt to storm the U.S. consulate turned deadly, with 9 protesters killed in clashes with the police. So what we're left with is a power vacuum, a regional war, and fractured global alliances. All of this enormous uncertainty leads to the single most important question. With Ali Khamenei gone, who or what is now going to shape the future of Iran?